started. First thing
Mhm,
I would like to address is something that I heard you say, and this kind of gets into what your goals are for playing, kind of on that topic, because really it's going to, whether or not you listen to this advice or not is going to depend on your goals, and then also just like kind of what you're feeling. This is very much the most up to you thing out of everything that I'm going to be saying. But essentially, one thing I heard you say while I was asking those opening questions was that you play um pretty much consistently across all three roles. You play that, you have that 5 game role system. My recommendation when it comes to playing to improve and playing to win more games and climb would be to limit your hero pool more, because when you are spreading yourself so thin between so many different roles and so many different characters, well, then it's going to be a slower improvement process. Not an impossible improvement process, but it's just going to be slower.
mhm,
And that is because when you are spreading yourself out through so many different characters and different roles have different abilities and different, objectives and different ultimates and different mechanics and play styles and different types of positioning, and just there's a lot of differences between them, which mean that every time you swap to a different character, you have to relearn a bunch of different things. And
mhm,
when you're doing that across, 3 different roles, all of which are are going to be pretty different from each other, and then I'm not sure how many characters that you're playing per role. That just means that you're spreading yourself pretty thin. Whereas if you were to focus on one role, and then let's say it kind of depends on how much you're playing a day. But like if you, let's just say as a baseline, like 2 to 3 characters. If you play it much more, if you play it like 8 hours a day, well, you can probably bump it up a lot more. But um,
mhm,
one role, 2 to 3 characters. Well, now that gives you a lot more time to practice on them. Um,
mhm,
easy way to do that is, let's say like you play 2 characters per role, right? That's 6 characters. Let's just generally do a flat, 100 hours per character. So you have 100 hours per character. You just get rid of half of those, right? And now you have 200 hours per character. You
mhm,
get rid of another one, and now you're down to from 3 to 2 characters. Well, now you've just tripled the original time. So now you have 300 hours on that character,
mhm.
on those characters. So that's just some advice. Take it or leave it. Maybe limit a bit more if you're looking to improve faster.
I would say I definitely am limited towards my hero pool already because
Hmm.
there's certain characters I either way don't play. Um, so I mean in that sense, but I am a primarily tank player that I
Mm-hmm.
do know. So and I do primarily play on tank as well.
Okay.
Um, Support is just sort of on the side, and damage is very like maybe I spend 30 to 50 minutes just kind of chill it a little bit after like a session of tanking.
Mm-hmm.
But since tank queues are so fast, it allows me to just
Mm-hmm.
focus more on my gameplay and stuff instead of just
Mm-hmm.
idling.
Okay. Sounds good. So why don't we get started then? I'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for
Round
something to talk
one.
about.
Capture the
All right.
objective.
Is this third person? No, this is. All right. Okay, so it looks like, so we counted that down before we're going in. Um, Possibly, I guess the only person I'm seeing that we could coordinate with in this situation would be the Genji. Um, I would
Mm-hmm.
say that it's like maybe slightly delayed here because we do sit around for like 5 seconds before we're actually doing it. So maybe just pressing the button sooner and like just setting it up faster.
The objective is now locked.
All right, so first thing we are going to review, and I mean it's very possible that some of this stuff that you've heard before, going through some of my videos. But first thing we're going to review here is target priority. So target priority. is essentially who do you want to be looking at, who do you want to be shooting at, and generally the answer is the easiest targets to kill because the easiest things to kill will actually die as opposed to you trying to kill them and then they survive for another 20 seconds, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be the way to actually secure kills. Now, when it comes to the easiest targets to kill, the big general rule is the tanks are the hardest things to kill in the game. That's why they're called tanks, right? They have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. And in Overwatch 2, this is even more extreme. But they have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They have tanking abilities. They have shields. They have armor. They are really easy to heal and keep alive and toss abilities on. Overall, they're really difficult to kill, especially when they're better and they're not just letting you kill them. Um, and that seems to be like the primary thing we focused in this fight was we kind of swung back into our back line and started looking at the monkey, and then we went, and I think really the I would say the only reason why we actually killed him was because he like messed up his jump and jumped into our team rather than just away to safety. And then we immediately swap our focus and go to the hog, both of which are the hardest things on their team to kill. Um, which therefore means that we're just going to be getting probably the least amount of value focusing them. So when it comes to their team comp, and that's not to say that we never shoot at tanks, right? We can shoot at them if they're low, if they're out of position, if they're the only thing that we can shoot at. Sure, go ahead and shoot the tanks, right? Let's say we just use all our abilities, and we can't really get to their supports then. Um, then you can go for the tanks. Additionally, on top of that, even among DPS and supports, there are easier and harder things to kill. Like, who would you say would be easier to kill, like Junkrat or Lucio?
Probably. Well, if I'm playing ball, probably Lucio because the Junkrat could set up a trap. And I would just walk right into it.
I would probably say Junkrat because I mean, as long as you're watching for the trap, because if you're intentionally watching for the trap, then it doesn't pose as much of a threat because he can't move it; it's stationary.
Hmm.
And then Lucio has so much more survivability than Junkrat does with insane movement. He's much faster movement, and then also self healing that that Junkrat doesn't have. I would say that in most cases, Junkrat would be the easier target to kill. Aside from in the case that he outplayed you with a trap, which is possible, but I would say if you're watching for it, is easily avoidable. Um, and then like who would you say would be easier to kill, like a soldier or an Ana?
The Ana.
Yeah, Liana. Maybe if she has sleep, it might be difficult, but yeah, generally speaking, it's Ayana, right? So even among other characters, there's a hierarchy, and it to make it really easy on you yourself, right? You can come up with a list at the start of each game, so you can kind of come in, glance at their team comp, wait till tab unlocks, and just scan through their comp and go, okay, what's the easiest character to kill, like to the hardest character to kill. So if I were to look at our team composition on team two, I would probably say, okay, Anna's the easiest. Then maybe you can maybe say like the other three are kind of like on a similar tier level, right? Brig, Soldier, and Genji. Maybe Genji is probably like the easiest to kill out of them, but those three are similar enough to where you could kind of put them on a tier. And then I would say probably Hog and then Ball, right? So it kind of goes on that in that order ish, right? And sometimes all it takes is to have that rough order. Now, what would you like? I mean, we just probably did like half of it, but if you were to do their team, the enemy team, what would you make their list out to be?
Um, Depending on whether I watch out for the trap, probably Junkrat on top, and then Ana, and then, well, if the soldier's not being healed, or if he doesn't have his E, then I will put soldier in third place. Hog obviously last, I think.
Skipped over a couple, but but yeah, you got the rough order.
Right. With my team as well in it, you
Oh
mean?
no, because you skipped over Monkey and Lucio. So I was just gonna say,
Right, right.
yeah. So I mean, like, yeah, you could probably put Lucio as like number four, Monkey is five, and then Hog last. Right.
Mhm.
All right. So then, I mean, like, we could take that and we can look back on it, and yes, we went for Junkrat first, which is great, but then we immediately swapped attention to Monkey, who's number five, and then you know, the hog who's number 6, and then we can kind of keep following this. We don't have to spend an insane amount of time on it, but we'll keep following it through. You know, you can even notice here how we slam up both the Lucio and the hog, and we're still shooting at the hog. Okay, nice. Nice.
You're covered.
Nice hook dodge. Okay, so let's rewatch a little bit of this. Coming back here. So we're swinging around the side. Right, our team, firstly, the one thing to note is where our team is located. The big bulk of our team's over on point. We're also missing 2 people walking back from spawn. So I would probably say that this ultimate is probably a little bit rushed here because um, you're going to notice. I think that in some of these cases we're getting away with things because we're at a lower rank and people aren't punishing us for them. But just remember that just because a mistake isn't punished doesn't mean it's not a mistake, because you know, you try going up 200 SR and that's where you're aiming for, and then all of a sudden the same exact move will get punished, right? So in this case we're engaging when, number 1, we're down 2 people, which is in a lot of cases, if you're down 2 people and you're initiating the fight, that's an already lost fight that you're initiating. Now they are coming back, so you're going to get them soon. But if we're engaging, then there's a high likelihood that we will probably die before we get our teammates back, because we're already at such a massive disadvantage. We're also going in when like half of our team is like really far back on point, so they're not really like, you know, not really in a fantastic position to support you. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, they can kind of heal you, but Brig's not going to really be able to do anything but throw a pack. Ana and Soldier, yeah, I mean, they can kind of pepper from here, but they're not really going to do a ton of meaningful work from that angle. So all that to say that maybe this is a little bit of an early engagement when we're going in here. I think it's probably a good idea that we don't mine in the air here. Typically, I would say you want to mine in the air because that gives you more coverage. It combos better, but
Mhm.
it would also catch like half of your mines on the rooftops here. So I think it's a
Right,
good
right.
idea to not do that. Okay, you get the monkey. Good loot. We almost moved into the mine there. Very good kill. All right.
Get that.
Greetings, Anna. Alright. I think we're just kind of scouting around at the moment.
Messed that up.
Yeah. Are we trying? I think we're trying to maybe get on high ground here. Yeah.
Yep. I was trying to set up a slam on the bridge.
I might recommend, if you're trying to get higher, more height, you want to be grappling higher. General rule is the higher you're trying to go, you want to be grappling higher. And if you're just trying to go for like a fast speed forwards, then you're grappling low because you don't
Mhm.
need any height. So here, like both of these, we're grappling pretty low when we have like higher options. I mean, like, so here, I mean, like even just looking at this, even on the same building, we could be going up an extra 2 meters on it, or you know, so that's like just one thing. And then there's even more apparent in this next one, the next time we grapple here, where we could be
Yep.
grappling like all the way up to the top, and notice how we only grapple like kind of halfway up, right?
Mhm.
And that means that we only swing like this far up and we actually hit it. So it just limits our swinging capabilities, whereas if we're grappling much higher up, that gets us more swing range to work with. Probably could end up killing the soldier faster there if we had that. Okay, notice that we're kind of... Okay, so now Hog is slightly out of position, but we're still putting the focus on the Hog here. When he's just going to get pocketed through it, whereas, you know, we could probably be turning and looking at some of the other characters, right, to be shooting at and killing. So let's just
Well,
see how. Mhm.
my thought process here, just as an explanation, is I saw him walk into the Ana, and I was like, I was doing callouts midway,
Mhm.
and I was like, Ana, there's a hog walk towards you. I'm just trying to save her. But yeah, I do think she wouldn't have died either way. But she was threatening my backline, so my thought process is probably protect the backline instead of doing another engagement.
Yeah, which that's fair if Hog. I mean, like when it comes to Ana and Brig, Hog isn't really near. He could land a hook on somebody, but that's the it here. I would suppose. I think communicating it is fine. They just beated, so it's not like you're gonna get another kill anyways out of it. So I think booping him is fine. Yeah, it's hard to say. I honestly, yeah, I mean, like that's a fine explanation because you were afraid he was gonna hook someone, but also
Right?
there's nobody really in range for him to hook. Nobody is out of cover for him, and he actually just did hook as well.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really could go either way on it. And then we still focus him after he gets healed and whatnot, and then that he just survives through it all.
Mhm.
So definitely, I think like that's reasonable if you're trying to protect from a hook. But then after that point, we just overstay our focus on him. And notice the low grapple again, and then how that just pulls us backwards. I think we're trying to grapple up there, but we end up
Yep.
grappling here instead. Okay, notice the hog focus once again. He just gets pocketed through it the entire time, and that's not just after he gets hooked, right? We start focusing him here when we slam up both the hog and the Lucio, and we're looking at the hog instead of Lucio, right? The target. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. Just notice that it is a continuous thing, right? It's a trend that we're probably going to continue to see, but I don't want to spend the entire session looking at one single mistake, large a mistake as it is. Just note that that's going to be like dramatically reducing the number of kills that you can actually be attaining in a game because it's just imagine how much time it takes to kill an Ana versus or Junkrat versus killing a hog or a ball. It's just so much faster, and and we're probably going to be getting like honestly like 2 times through, possibly like 3 times the kills if our target priority alone changes. Okay. Little strange that we kind of like turn around here for a grapple to go like off of this one, when if we just turn around and look this way, we can probably go off of this and boop some people off. Like there's a ton of people near the edge here. Watch this. Imagine if you just boop them. I think who did they just get booped by? It
Um,
looks like they got
the
booped.
break.
Break
I
boop.
think.
Yeah, it looks like I guess, yeah. But like this could honestly be a really massive boop right now. But for some reason we do this like long swing arounds rather than just turning around and going off of that wall. So, just some different grappling things. I think grappling skills is something that could possibly use some thinking on to work. Okay. Uh-oh. A good kill though. All right. Watch here. Maybe slightly over aggressive when we're like really low HP. When rather than kind of being on top of these guys, we can maybe just kind of peek in on these edges to stop them from capping while we're waiting on heals. And these two guys, because these two guys will come over to point in a second once they've killed the ball. Here, yeah, I think that's an okay time to be ulting. We're still engaging at 70 HP though, right? When we probably want to be backing. We're still kind of playing over aggro on the low HP. Nice kill. Great. Swing back into the window. Nice. All right.
Yeah, I keep missing that grapple. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Round 2. Capture the objective.
I would say here is where I start really like kind of losing my performance.
Struggling a bit.
Struggling.
Okay. Notice because we're grappling so close to ourselves, once again, like we're kind of forced to let go early, right? Because we can't we can't continue to hold on, otherwise we get pulled backwards, right? Because we're grappling so close to where we're actually trying to go. So either we have to let go early and then kind of do this slow float onto them, or we are forced to pull ourselves backwards and then we just mess up the grapple completely. Whereas if instead we were to grapple the statue in front of us, then we can get a nice swinging momentum into them and go much further. So I mean, like, if this is that making sense verbally, maybe a visual demonstration could help with it. But grappling
Mhm.
to that further object would definitely help you, rather than trying to grapple backwards, right? So let's see if we're trying to think of an example here. So if we're trying to get over to here, right, imagine grappling here versus grappling over here. Whereas if we grapple here, we're, we we either do that or we drag ourselves backwards. It just kind of launches us forwards pretty slowly. Whereas if we grapple up higher forwards, then we can go in much faster, um, because we have some more forwards momentum rather than just like slight upwards momentum. So when we're grappling, typically you don't want to grapple like an inch from yourself, right? I mean, like if you're trying to go upwards. And then once again, same thing with the height thing we can demonstrate here was, if we're grappling down here, there's only so high you can go. And if you kind of swing yourself upright, you can get high, but it just overall works much smoother if you're grappling up high like this, right? Then you're able to get a lot more height with it, pretty much. Right. I haven't seen you doing much of this tech, but just to confirm that you know it and that you're using more frequently, because this is a insanely useful tech to be using at ball, like with ball. And you really should be almost like probably like a third or a fourth of your slams should be using this, and that's just jumping off of objects, right? Because if you jump off of almost anything, right, you can't do it if you just jump up in the air, but if you jump off of anything, even like something that as tiny as this, you're able to slam off of it, and then that gets
Yeah.
you a lot of immediate damage, and you don't need to set up a grapple with, and now you have grapple to escape with, right? So you
Mhm.
can do that off of pretty much anything, and yet I'm not really seeing us do it too much. You can do it off of edges, like we can come in and then swing back around.
Yep.
You can do it just off of like random slopes, right? You can just do it off of anything, and not really seeing us using that too frequently.
Mhm. Well, I do use it, but I don't think I'll really have set up on the edge as much. And I was over communicating, so I couldn't really look at my techniques and just kind of what I was doing.
Wait, so you're just saying like to maybe like slight focus on like more of a focus on like communicating with your team. Yeah, which is okay. If that's like something you're trying to work on, like if that's like the thing you're trying to focus on and improve upon. But if it's not
Mhm.
the thing you're trying to focus and improve upon, then it's possible that it could be focusing on something else. The other thing is that like, um, if we're really yeah, like as ball, I mean, like, yeah, you can. There's a lot of general things you can communicate, but if you're not working with a dive, there isn't gonna be as much of a need to like communicate you going in as much. Like here, we're communicating that we're diving, and then we look at our team comp and we're going, okay, is anybody? It's not like anybody's diving in with us, right? Okay, we're communicating
Mhm.
when you're going in. Well, that can maybe be like slightly helpful because they can go and look at it and shoot at it. But I mean, hopefully they're looking in that direction, anyways. Overall, I would say that you're gonna find more value in the situation out of good getting a good pile driver in and grapple in versus communicating it to people who are kind of going to find very little benefit out of knowing that you're engaging.
Mhm.
I would say, like, yeah, if you're working with a full dive or a couple people dive with you, then that's very imperative, right? It is a good thing. It's very important that they know that you're engaging.
Mhm.
All right, so we kind of got bullied here. We did a slow swing in, so by the time we got there, we were already down 200 HP. We don't use our shields until we're like really far away from everybody. Probably want to be using shields like as we're slamming, because
Mhm.
then that's when they're all grouped up anyways. And then additionally, we have grapple here that we can use to get away, which we don't use. Like we have it now, which we can use. So maybe like swing the direction of just out, and then also on top of that, we do kind of just like run away straight down the middle, whereas we could possibly just, rather than swing straight down the middle, we can just go out this top way. We can, we probably don't even need to be backing out. We can go out the left side rather than just straight down the middle and backing out. It gives us a lot more cover to work with as we're leaving. All right. Notice how we slam, but then we immediately roll away and don't engage on any of it. We slam 4 people, so we can probably just shield and get 1,000 HP like you just got in a second ago, and then we can start shooting at like Diana, who's 1 HP, right? That sort of thing.
Mhm.
But we kind of roll away without really taking the time to shoot at all, which is okay in some circumstances, but not, in that situation, probably could result in a kill.
Didn't even notice the Ana was low HP.
If they got trapped, gotta keep an eye out for those. Oh. Okay, tank focus. Okay. Requesting healing is going to be in my opinion, a much more integral part of your kit than 3-2-1ing is. And that's just one that, I've heard you, and that's still a good one to use. I think 3-2-1 is a pretty great one to learn to use. But I need healing gives your supports an in-game audio cue of where you
Yep.
are and where you need healing. So I just press it anytime you need healing. Looks like sometimes their escapes need a bit of work. Here, we're going back in when we're half HP is an issue, and we're slamming when we're low. Maybe we could go over a bit of yeah, why don't we do that? So we're gonna go over and this is maybe once again, if you've watched some of my tank stuff, you might have heard this. And that is going over, I'm blanking on the name. Oh, aggression scaling. Have you heard me talk about aggression scaling at all?
I think so.
Think so? All right. Well, we'll review it. All right. So aggression scaling is the concept that essentially while we're playing the game, you want to think of your aggression as if it were on a scale. So what that means is that you're going to come into every single fight at a neutral of 50% aggression. Then 0% is your super passive, 100% is your super aggressive, and we're going to adjust along this depending on the situation. So you adjust upwards along the scale when you have advantages and opportunities, and you're going to adjust downwards down the scale when you have disadvantages, danger, and a lack of resources, right? And this really helps people when it comes to just knowing when should I be pushing, when should I be backing, because I'm noticing situations where we're doing the vice versa, where we are backing when we should be pushing, and we are pushing when we should be backing, right? Like this situation where we're going in when we should be getting out and resetting a little bit, just for a second. So now let me define a couple of those terms. Advantages and disadvantages are pretty, it can get a little bit complex. But the simple nature of them is just the kills. You can go into a lot of other advantages and disadvantages, but at the very basics, you can say that kills are a very big part of it. So, kill feed, watch kill feed. When you are up a person, all right, you got one kill,
Mhm.
then your team will go from 50 to 60%. Right. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. I think I have a screaming baby walking in my room. One moment.
No problem.
I apologize. All
No
right.
problem.
So continuing, so advantage and disadvantages, kills and deaths, right? When we get a kill on our team, that we're gonna go from 50 to 60% on the scale, right? We get 2 kills, we go from 60 to 70, 3 kills, 70 to 80, and so forth. Same thing on the opposite end, right? We lose a player, we go from 50 to 40. Lose 2 players, we go from 40 to 30, right? We just go downwards on the scale. Um, so that's advantages and disadvantages, just generally speaking. Then you have opportunities. So that's gonna be somebody's 1 HP, somebody's out of position. You have an ultimate to use, right? That sort of thing. And then you can get more aggressive for those things, to different degrees. Then you're also going to have a lack of resources. Resources are going to be things such as your health and such as your abilities, right? If you have no health whatsoever, right, you're 1 HP, you should probably be at a 0% aggression, as we are right now. We're trying to back out. But then also, you can, take a look at the fact that we're half HP, and that should and we're also without our shields, which should probably lower our aggression. That means that without half our health and without any shields, we should probably be, I don't know, like at a 30 rate or so. And then that means that we shouldn't be aggressing as if we're at a 70. And then additionally, yes, that's the lack of resources. But then there's also danger level, and danger level is going to be there's an big ultimate in front of you, right? Danger level isn't always health isn't always going to be indicative of danger level. Like you can be 1 HP and in your and back with your team and be perfectly fine, but if you are 1 HP and inside them, then you're probably gonna be dying, right? So um they're not necessarily related, but when you're half HP and there's people shooting at you, there's 3 people like right next to you, that is in danger. You are in danger here. So right now, that maybe means that at least for this moment, our aggression probably wants to be something like 20%, and then once again we're going in aggro, right? Even though we're down all those different things. So
Mhm.
couple more things of note within this. Note that it's very fluctuant. Don't feel like you have to lock into something. You don't go into a fight and then lock in at 100% for the next 10 seconds and then back out and be passive for the next 20 seconds. Sometimes it is like that, not all the time, right? You can be full HP, right? You see an opportunity, all right, you're going 100% aggression, then you get headshot and you're now 1 HP, and then now your aggression should be a 0%. So you just went from 50 to
Mhm.
100 to 0 all within 1 second, right? Um, and then it may seem overwhelming, the fact that there's so many different things to keep track of, but you keep track of all those different things, all anyways within your gameplay. There's that many things to keep track of, generally speaking, and as you practice at it, it will come much more naturally to be able to do.
Right.
Whereas when I play and when other people play, it just all comes within the snap of the fingers, where you're just able to identify in the second. So does that
Mhm.
all make sense?
Yep. That does make sense.
All right, glad to hear it. Um, so here just way too aggro, and then I think we end up dying as a result. Uh-oh,
Yep.
Hog gets us.
Thank you.
Now this, I wouldn't say is too bad of a decision because we're kind of waiting on our team to regroup here. We're waiting on people to walk back, so it's not like the fight has begun. And Monkey's kind of the thing that has presented itself to shoot for us to shoot at, and we're trying to maybe get the kill on him. So I wouldn't say this is like a egregious target to be shooting at the moment, right? And then you also
Mhm.
haven't heard me commenting on situations where the hog's 1 HP or their whole team's dead and it's just the monkey, right? Those are situations where it's perfectly fine to shoot at them.
Yeah, I think that messed up. But
Yeah. Yeah, because we're not really on top of them here. We're kind of in front of them when we're ulting. They get booped away. They're able to just get out of it super easily. Typically, you're gonna be best off. Not all the time, but typically you're gonna be best off with a ult if you are like high if you're ulting high in the air above them because that spreads out your mines, which allows you to cover more wide of a radius, and then slamming afterwards. Which here we are able to slam afterwards. Because I think we get like booped, that which helps. But we could also maybe swing off of like this left wrap, the scaffolding on the left side. That can maybe get us more height and get us closer to them versus this, which kind of launches us on the ground, which just makes it more difficult to get any kills out of it. And
would
then
you have
all
said
good.
I could have mined on point? Would that have been a better decision to
Um,
make, or?
I was going to say not necessarily on point, but behind them. Mine is almost you always want to angle it behind, not like a mile behind them, but where you like it. Preferably speaking, you're mining somewhere like, more like because you want to get the slam in, but you want to be mining behind them. Maybe like somewhere like right here where you're mining and it's covering half of point. It's covering here, and you're still gonna hit the Junkrat and Lucio, but you're also slamming them into it. But it's behind them, which means that if they're trying, it cuts off their escape. Now they're trapped between a rock and a hard place where you have your team pushing them from the front, and there's mines behind them. They have nowhere to run, and they have no cover to take, and it's just not a good situation for them. Plus, people's natural instinct when there's an ultimate coming is to run backwards, right? So that means that you're gonna catch them in it. So typically speaking, like if you're looking for like a perfect position here, this would maybe be about it because then you cut off their escape back to point, which is a very similar effect to what you were trying to go for, right? Where it kind of zones off point from them, and then also still gets the kills out of it and has them run backwards into it. That all makes sense.
Mhm.
So
All
this
right.
would be like the same positioning you'd go for with like a May ultimate, where it's a very I guess similar radius to what a
Right.
ball has. Is you're throwing it behind them because they're trying to run backwards to point, and now this cuts off their escape, and they're also going to naturally run backwards away from the May ult, not forwards into your team, right?
Mhm.
So here, this is kind of in front of them, which is the issue.
No one can hide from
Soldier on the right. Nice, we picked the right target that time. Consider one thing I'm noticing a lot of the time is that we're not shielding as we're slamming on people. Whereas just really easy thing to do is just like when you de-ball to go and shoot at people is this the shield as you do that because you're also grouping everybody up as you're slamming anyways. So we can do this where we're shielding as soon as we're coming out and shooting. Whereas a lot I almost never see us do that. Whereas most of the time what we'll do is we'll come in and we'll slam and then we'll roll around for 3 seconds and then we'll shield when we're over here away from people, right?
Mhm.
And just remember that you get more health the more people are in your radius. So doing it right after you slam is going to be a really good way to, really easy way to get more bang for your buck when it comes to shields. And also, you're probably going to want your shields when you're getting more aggro, right? You want that if you're staying there to shoot, you want to be able to shoot as long as possible and not die, right? So shielding is a good time for that as well.
Right. Okay.
Now arriving at Ilios. Ready for battle.
that?
Yep. Closer.
Somewhere around here. Let's land.
Yeah.
Okay. Monkey. He just get packed into a pillar there. Okay. Notice a lot of the tank focusing this fight, right?
Yeah.
Where we swing in. Now here, the fight hasn't really begun yet, so this one I think is okay because we're swinging in and we're trying to mess up the monkey, right? So that's fine, right? But
Right.
then we kind of overstay on him because now we're chasing after the monkey when we're probably not gonna be able to kill him. He's
Right.
nanoed and he's being healed by his team. And yet we already accomplished our goal. We already messed up, like 3/4 of his ultimate, right? 3/4 of the nano boost. So and then now they're actually pushing in. So we probably want to change our attention to these guys, right? Where we can swing through 3 people, get a big slam in, but we're still following the monkey. And then after we're on the monkey, then we change our attention to the hog, right? When now he does get killed. Now he's the good target to shoot at because he's 1 HP. So that's fine. But we were looking at him even before he was low. And then we turn back around once again to go and get on the monkey, and then we stay on the monkey after he primals. So as opposed to going and and helping kill these guys who are all squishies, all die so much faster than monkey. Especially once you see primals. As soon as you see he primals and it's only you and Widowmaker and Soldier shooting, like he's not gonna die to you guys if he's doing it right. Now he does die, and once again, like I would say that part of that is gonna be because he's a bad monkey. Like he jumps like twice here. Jump 1, he swings. Jump 2, jump 3 times. He only jumps 3 times during that whole ultimate, or 4 times, right? Which is gonna make it so much easier to shoot at him. Um, he doesn't. Yeah, I would chalk a lot of that up to Monkey being bad there, with how much damage he takes.
Right. So that was a bad move, I guess.
Yeah, so
Trying to shoot
like
him.
I mean, because also just think of that in comparison to like if you just stay on, he kills the Widowmaker no matter what there. And then if you go and play on that front line and help kill those 3 squishies, which your team is rolling over anyways, well then what does it matter that he kills Widowmaker if you've killed his entire team? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I might recommend
Really bad.
if you fall in here, what direction should you not be trying to escape in?
Open space, I would say, and definitely not into them.
Yeah, not
I
into them.
probably definitely behind me was free. I didn't
Yeah.
even.
So rather than going this way and trying to escape out the front, where we have to deal with boops and hook and 5 people shooting at us, right? We can just roll backwards and come through this way, right? As all as options. So kind of trying to escape the wrong direction, and then that gets us killed, right? Also, just watch falling in the first place, right?
Yep.
So one other thing to note is that I think that we're dying in very easily preventable ways in a lot of these cases, right? And deaths, I can't remember how many times we died so far. I don't think it's like an insane number, but like I said, a lot of the times that we are dying, it's dying in ways that could be preventable. Like that last one was very easily preventable death. Some of the aggression ones we've seen have been pretty easily preventable if we just don't engage, right? So when it comes to dying, just remember that deaths are really bad for you, and they waste a lot of your time playing the game, and means that that's your impact on losing the fight. You're going to be putting your team at a disadvantage. Yada yada yada. Deaths are bad. And a lot of these deaths could be fixed pretty easily. So one thing I'd recommend is take a look every time you die. It's very, 20 seconds of time while you're respawning and walking back to the fight. Just think on, why did I just die? right? What was the reason why I just died? And then that can help you look to fix some of the deaths by just identifying what was the mistake, and then also not just what was the mistake, but also like what is the solution to that mistake? What could have fixed that problem? So if I, went out through, if I died because I tried to go out through the main way, what other direction could I have walked in, right? If I died because I ran in when I was 1 HP, well, what else was the alternative, right? Let's talk application real quick. Then I think we have a couple more minutes until the review portion, but application, how to put this stuff into action, how to make sure that you're actually able to implement the things we're talking about, is going to primarily be focusing on your gameplay and focusing on the things you're trying to improve upon. Now, that means that you're not going to come in, you're not going to autopilot, just you're not going to play, and contrary to popular belief, you're not going to purely play to win, as that just leads to stagnation. Whereas what you want to do is play to improve, because then that actually leads to better gameplay and more wins. Now, what that
Mhm.
looks like within your gameplay is you're going to be thinking to yourself while you're playing. You can pick out something like target priority, and you're thinking to yourself, target priority, target priority, target priority, sports DPS, sports DPS, no tanks, right? You're just giving yourself a constant stream of reminders to shoot at the right targets and not the wrong targets. And when you do
Mhm.
that, well, I would imagine you're probably going to be shooting at the right targets a little bit more often if you're reminding yourself constantly. And then that overall will mean that that's, some better gameplay while you're doing that. If you do that for a long enough period of time, it will form itself as a positive habit. Once it forms itself as a positive habit, then you no longer need to focus on it as much. You don't need to give yourself constant reminders because it just comes naturally now. So then you can move on to something else to work on, and that's the circle of improvement, of the improvement process. And then one final thing would be, don't try to focus on everything all at the same time, because we've gone over a dozen different things. And then if you do try to work on everything all at the same time, that just gets too overwhelming. So pick one category of things, or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category, which we will be reviewing in a moment. Like what I think that you should be working on first and foremost, and whatnot. Does that all make sense?
All right. Yeah. Makes
Alrighty.
sense.
No one can hide from them.
Ah, he hit something. Oh, and then he just launches himself off the map. Oh, never mind. I didn't even
The
notice
hog.
Hog got him. I think Hog probably just like tickled them there.
Hero was told to focus the Mercy, so I tried to shoot at the Mercy, but kind of unsuccessful.
Okay. Now in this situation, right? I think it's a Mercy is a good target, but then she got beaten Valk, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
no longer the easiest thing to focus. But then our alternative is to look at the Hog for the entire fight rather than the Soldier. Or instead looking at the Junkrat who's over on the side. Both of which would be much, much easier targets to shoot at, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he doesn't die and doesn't die.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Doesn't die.
Gets
Oh,
bubbled as well.
we get trapped. I'll show the trap. No, that one wasn't super easy to spot, but just keep your eye out for it. Nice. No, notice how we just spent 15 seconds chasing a Hog and he still is not dead, and then we spent 2 seconds on Junkrat and
Yeah.
he's dead. And then he gets us. All right. Mess up the grapple. So here, aggression, right? Notice, firstly, it's not going to be resulting in a kill. Secondly,
Team
so,
is not there.
at the moment, Sana backing. Looks like they're backing, right? So they're not,
Mm-hmm.
they're not, their teammates are disengaging, right? So when you're watching how to tell whether or not you've won or lost the fight. This is a very similar strain. Oh, we gotta speed run this because we're actually running out of time here. So, how to tell whether or not you won or lost the fight. This is actually a very similar strain to what we were talking about with aggression scaling, and that is basically just watch kill feed. When you are up or down 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage or a disadvantage, right? Like
Yeah.
we were discussing before. But when you are up or down 2 to 3 people, then that is a one fight or a lost fight. When you have lost a fight, you get out if you can. If you cannot, you let them kill you. Here we can very easily get out, and this is a lost fight because it is essentially a 1v4 as our teammates are backing out and disengaging. So we're going in a lost fight, and whereas we could have just backed out and regrouped. So that is why we end up dying so very easily, and that's just that. Right? That'll make sense.
Yep.
You can go much more in depth than that, but that's the basics. All right, now we're going to do a quick review, do a wrap up of everything we talked about, and yeah, go over the main points of the
Uh,
session.
I do have a question.
Good.
I typically don't really play ball.
Okay.
It was really on this season. I played a lot of. There's a lot of like monkey players and diva players, and I figured ball just kind of made sense to go along with it. But I do play on the shield side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing there's not enough time to kind of review that, because in that same match I do play Orisa, and I do kind of want to have a look at how that performed.
Okay, well, at the moment in the session, including the 1 minute of my hiatus, we have about like 7 minutes left in the session, and typically I take 8 minutes for the review portion. Um, that's up to you. We could spend 7 minutes on Orisa, but 7 minutes on Orisa would maybe be time to go over like one, maybe two things. So we might not have a ton of time for it. If you did enjoy like the stuff that we did on Ball, then it's possible we could do like another session on, or like more dedicated to Orisa. Or in the future, if you like, if you ever have 2 characters you want to review, just mention it earlier in the session, so that we have time to go over them. So I'm not sure. It's you're the boss man of the session, so it's up to you.
I think good job on the Orisa. Just let's do the review.
Just do the review, okay. All right. So abilities, right? Grapple, you messed it up, a decent bit of the time. Probably about like 3/4 of the grapples we identified something that like could have been done slightly better. So just put some intentionality behind where you're grappling. Don't grapple too close if you're trying to go up high. Grapple further out, grapple higher up, right? So that you're able to get more swing on it. Besides that, to watch for things that you're going to bump into. Slam, remember that you can slam off of almost anything. Besides that, not too much of a problem with slam. Combo with your shields with your slam though, right? Shield after you slam, that way you're able to get more people in it. That's actually, one of the times where it's going to be most useful anyways. So that'd be a recommendation. Overall, though, abilities is kind of like, it's just some minor stuff to work on, so probably like a low to medium priority for you to work on. Besides that, ult usage, do it kind of angled behind them. Try to, if possible, if there's nothing to catch all your mines, you want to do it from high up because that spreads the mines out. Follow it up with a slam and some shots, because then that means that you're hitting more people. Notice that much wider radius that you're getting the mines in when you're going from that high up. You're hitting people over here and over here. And then slamming them into it afterwards is going to help out, rather than trying to do it in the vice versa. Usually it's going to help out. Overall, though, once again, kind of more minor stuff. So low to medium priority, right? Same as abilities. Mechanics. I don't think we didn't talk a ton on like just pure aiming, but we did talk a ton on target priority. So we might even make this entire category just target priority. And that was one of the biggest things we talked about, was making sure you're shooting at the right targets, because we, spent about probably like 65% of our game shooting at the wrong targets. And that is a lot of time to be kind of wasting when you could be shooting at the right targets and getting a lot more kills, getting a lot more bang for your buck. So shoot at the easiest targets to kill, not the hardest targets to kill, but make them your priority. Come up with that list in your head so that you know easiest to hardest. Come up with that tier list so that you just know who should you be focusing on. Generally speaking, not the tanks unless they're low, out of position, or the only targets you can shoot at. And then overall, that probably was like a medium-high priority for you to work on. And hopefully one of the slightly easier things to work on as well, as all it takes is the mindset shift. and maybe just working out the bad habit, but it's nothing like insanely complex. It's just new targets to be focusing, and hopefully that'll be a little bit easier to implement than some other things, right? Then moving on to your positioning, I don't think we talked a ton on positioning, but sometimes we would just kind of wander, like when we're trying to escape, we would wander straight through the middle of the open. Note that good positioning is the usage of cover, bad positioning is the absence of cover. Don't kind of run away straight through the middle. Use cover because it's all over the heckin' place, right? Let's see. Overall, though, maybe even like a lower end of a low to medium or a low, like higher end of a low. It's not, we didn't talk a ton on it. Finally, awareness slash aggression. Awareness slash aggression. Pay attention to your surroundings. What is you know what's on your HUD? Do you have health? Do you have abilities? Pay attention to what the heck's up with your team. Where are they all at? Are they with you? Are they not with you? Are they dead? Are they alive? Watch kill feed, right? 1 to 2, advantage, disadvantage. 2 to 3, won or lost fight. I'd pay attention to the numbers because oftentimes people forget them, and they're handy to know. Watch kill feed. Watch tab. Pay attention to what team comp they're running. Team comp dictates play style. Watch out for the Junkrat trap, right? That sort of thing. And then all of that dictates your aggression, right? That's why they're kind of an interconnected category, because they're very interrelated to each other. Aggression scaling. 50% is your neutral, 100% is your aggression, super aggressive, 0% is your super passive. Adjust up with advantages and opportunities, and down with disadvantages, with a lack of resources and danger level. And overall, that one probably goes to like higher end of a medium for you to work on. So to put that all in order, number 1 was target priority, number 2 was awareness slash aggression, 3, we could probably tie it both through your ability and ult usage. And then 4, we don't really even need to comment on the positioning too much. It's just, kind of little itty bitty things. All right. That all makes
Right.
sense. Any questions?
Yeah. Would you say, because I did go ball here without really much of a supporting dive character to go with me, would it always work to just like kind of solo someone diving instead of waiting for someone to follow up on your engagement?
Are you saying if you have? Are you saying if you have the option for the double dive, or if you don't have? Like I'm just wondering.
Well, here is the thing is with this match, right? I played with a hog, and I don't really have anyone else to go with me.
Yeah.
So do I just kind of go solo dive and then try to shoot the weakest
Yeah.
target either way?
Yep. I mean,
Right.
it's what's the alternative? Like just sitting there?
I mean, I could have swapped and maybe like matched with
Yeah.
a hog.
I mean, you could. I think Ball's a very flexible character. He can definitely work in that situation. I mean, honestly, he's a very flexible character, so he can definitely 100% work, even if it's just you going in and that's it. It might be better for him to be with a dive, but not unplayable if he's not, if that makes sense. So it's up to your preference. You could pick the better character for the situation, or you can pick more of a comfort pick, because Ball is definitely workable in the situation.
Okay.
All right, that about it?
Yep. That's
All
about
right.
it.
Sounds good. So recording